JK.
Hi, Lindsay.
All right, I think we'll just let a couple people pop in here. Looks like we have some people rolling in. Okay, how are you today? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. It's finally like that crisp
I know it was
fall
cold this
weather.
morning when I went outside. I'm like, oh, it's cold.
Oh,
Fall is
oh.
here.
You
Fall
have
is
to change
here.
over the closet.
Yeah, that's why I'm in a sweater
Yep.
now.
So funny. Yeah, I have this one window in my living room that I always keep open. And today I was like, it might be time for this window to close.
To close now. I know I shut my AC off. Usually it gets really warm. The sun beams in through the living room and it makes the whole hot house, but I had to shut it off. It was freezing.
So crazy. Well, it looks like we have some people still trickling in, but I think we can get started. We don't want to take up too much of people's time today. So, this is JK, your first webinar,
This
right?
is
This is
everyone
so
be kind.
exciting. I feel like the old lady seasoned pro over here, but 100% we're going to try to do a share your screen situation later. So like bear with us because even though I've done these webinars before, like we'll see what happens. But so a little bit about Mavinhouse. So JK is down in Rhode Island. I'll let her say a little bit about her. But Mavinhouse, of course, is a modern firm of wedding planners. We serve clients throughout Greater New England, the New York region. And we have three distinct partnerships. We kind of meet our clients where they are in the planning process. So whether that's you just got engaged, you don't have a venue, you don't have a date, we start with you there with full planning service and design. Or you've booked your venue, you've booked some key vendors, and you've gotten off on a great start, but you want a pro to come help fill in the details, pull some design support. Or you have a really good handle on the design, but you're feeling overwhelmed by the logistics. We have partnerships for everything. So personally, I am based in Maine, up in Portland. I serve clients up in northern New England, and I also do some work down in New York because I used to live in Brooklyn. So that's a little bit about where I am. This is my cat who will also probably be popping in today.
That's okay. Luca, my little wiener dog, will probably jump in and make an appearance, I'm sure. I'm Jeankarla. I go by JK a lot by all the girls. I'm here in Rhode Island and actually work side by side with Sarah. So we typically work in Newport. We have been kind of all over the place this season, up in Cape Cod and Maine. So, but Rhode Island is our main focus. So Newport area.
Awesome. So today, as you all know, we're here to talk about wedding day anxieties and how to best prepare for your wedding day to combat those anxieties. So we're going to tackle everything from what to pack, how to prepare, how to design your timelines, and just who to utilize for help along the way. So let's just dive right in.
Yes.
So I always say, avoiding anxieties, it starts early. And that starts from when you're contracting your vendors and you're making sure that you're contracting vendors that you trust, which I think is super important. So in terms of Mavinhouse, when I'm vetting vendors for my clients, it's not only vendors who fit within the budget, it's vendors who maybe have worked in the area before, they fit the client on an aesthetic vision as well as a personality area. So it's somebody that that on the day of is going to get along with the client and be there to support the big overall picture, which is client success and the overall success of the wedding day. And so making sure that, from the very beginning, if you're having difficulty with, for instance, a vendor that is being really strict about their contracts and you're just feeling frustrated about, the contract aspect of it, and you feel like they're just not getting you, that might translate into some anxieties all the way, a year from now on the day of your wedding. So I think it's so important just from the very beginning, setting yourself up for success and really vetting your vendors to the best of your ability and asking questions. Ask your planner, ask, if they have any sort of referrals or references from past clients are all really great tips and tricks.
Absolutely. I agree. Definitely do your research. Make sure everyone is a professional. And I know some people really like using a family friend or a friend of a friend, because it might save some money here and there. But in past experiences, most of the time it does not work out and it ends up stressing the bride out on the day of, if someone's late, if someone doesn't really know what they're doing, and no one wants to deal with that. This is a big investment brides are making for their big day, and you want everything to be perfect. You want professionals there who are going to look out for you and make sure your day is perfect.
Absolutely. And I think that part of that investment, it goes beyond money. It's an investment into essentially your quality of life, and making sure that like you're not going to be anxious or you're not feeling like bogged down by, you don't want to be answering questions about like logistical minutia on the day of your wedding or during your rehearsal. You want to be there to be present and be with your family and your friends and all of these close people that you've invited to celebrate with you, and making sure that you have that vendor team to support you behind the scenes is one of the biggest, areas where you can relieve stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think then kind of chronologically, I'd say like moving throughout the planning process, drafting up timelines. I think having a good control of your timeline is super important. JK, did you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yes. Timelines are what keeps the world going round on wedding days. So they're definitely much appreciated. Having basically a playbook of the wedding day is so important because it lets not only your vendors know what's going on, but you know what's going on. So you can have a peace of mind on the day of knowing that everyone is where they're supposed to be at what exact time. Also having a planner involved in making sure that everyone is where they're supposed to be is super helpful and gets rid of that wedding day anxiety. But timelines are super important. I know one of the biggest things is just the photos. I know that's always a big one, making sure that all the photos that you want are taken on that day of. Light is obviously very important. So you'll want to lean on your photographer to be able to guide you of the best times on the property of when photos should be taken, and account that in the timeline as well. So we're not worrying about that on the day of. Another big thing, I might kind of jump around on our schedule here, Lindsey, but transportation is very, very important. No one really thinks about that when you have your ceremony at a church and then your reception is probably 20 minutes to a half hour away. And just the amount of time that goes into make sure everyone gets out of the church, to load everybody up on a bus, account for traffic time, making sure everyone gets there at the start of cocktail hour. So things like that are also something you want to think about leading up to the wedding day, or having your planner look at that for you, making transportation schedules to fit into that timeline so everything is running smoothly. The last thing you want is your guests running late and missing half of cocktail hour. So definitely keeping those things in mind is very, very important.
Absolutely. I think also like in terms of transportation, there's also transportation to be considered on site, which is just like the movement of people. If you need to transition from cocktail hour to dinner, it doesn't happen immediately. And it also doesn't happen in 5 minutes. If you have this idea on your timeline that at 5:55 guests will be invited to dinner, and at 6 o'clock everyone will be seated and you can do your first dance, that's simply not a reality. I'm sure many people here have attended weddings and they just get into really great conversations, and you really enjoy cocktail hour and being around people, and you don't want to move and start the next thing. So, from our perspective, we start inviting people pretty early on because we know that the movement of people and that level of transportation takes some time. So you want to make sure that you're accommodating extra time pending your guest list. If you have a guest list of, I'd say 80 or plus people, it's going to take a good 15 or so minutes. Once you start having the staff tell people, okay, we need to start moving on to the next period. If you'd like to go find your seat, having that process start early enough.
Absolutely.
So that is a timeline. Also, just general timeline things. Share your timeline with your vendors early. Your photographer will be so pleased if you share an early timeline with them. And maybe they have a tip where they're like, actually, I'd like to, add 10 extra minutes in for first looks. And adding those 10 extra minutes in will impact when your hair and makeup might need to start. So if you're sharing these timelines, these draft timelines early enough with your vendors, they'll be able to go through and review and be like, this is what I need to be successful for you on the day of. And what your photographer needs might impact what your hair and makeup team needs, or, might impact what the caterers need for when the first course is going down or when the bar is going to open. So just be totally transparent with your vendors. You've hired them for a reason. They're experts in their field and they know what they need to be successful. And if you're sharing that information up front, I think it's going to be overall successful to, again, alleviate any sort of stress about feeling rushed on the day of.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I know that's really always, at least on my mind, when we're creating the timelines, is just making sure every vendor has plenty of time to get the job done, be set up. Excuse me. You want them to feel like they're not rushed either, because you want them to be prepared. You don't want them messing up or missing anything because they didn't have enough time to get it done. So that's always important.
Absolutely. And then honestly, once the day comes, forget about your timeline. You've talked about it with your vendors enough. They're in control about it. If you don't need to be, checking your phone or checking a watch, being like, oh my gosh, we were supposed to do our dance 5 minutes ago. Trust again that your vendors have it under control. And you don't need to be worrying about, those tiny little details about we're off track, we're doing this, that, and the other thing. It's all going to fall into place. And as long as, you've been upfront and you're talking, early enough about everything with your vendors, it's all going to be fine.
Yes. Communication is key.
Absolutely. Communication, transparency, all of it.
Yep.
Okay. Do we feel good on our little timeline chit chat?
Yeah.
Do we have any questions? I want to remind people, if you have questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat. Or ask in our little Q&A area. I think we also have a poll running right now, or actually I can launch the poll. I don't think we're running it formally right now. Just asking where you are in the planning process, or who you are in the wedding picture, if you're the bride, groom, a friend, a parent, where you are in that process. So that can help to kind of target our discussion here. So now we've talked about kind of what to do way before the wedding day to combat the anxieties, what to do kind of a couple months out to combat anxieties. And then now I think let's dive into kind of what we can do more week of.
Yeah.
Getting closer and closer. Okay. So I touched on this a little bit earlier, but you just don't want to be in a position where you're being asked the questions during your rehearsal. I think that can be so overwhelming. When my cousin just got married a couple of weeks ago and I offered to help, just line people up for the ceremony, any sort of support I could give. And they were like, oh, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. They went and did their rehearsal and she came over to the Airbnb I was staying at and was like, yeah, so Lindsey, we actually would not mind if you helped us line everybody up for our ceremony, and just make sure we get down the aisle correctly. She said everybody was asking me questions and I felt very overwhelmed. And that's just not a position you want to be in. So make sure that you have somebody, if it's a venue manager, if it's, your planner, somebody there, if it's an aunt, a cousin, whomever it is, that can be that point person, so that you've given them the rundown the day, the week leading up or whatever it is. And your vendors know, like, don't ask me a question, don't ask this or whatever, just ask, Aunt Susie, whatever it is, and they'll figure it out.
You don't want to be making those decisions come the day of. If you don't have a planner, assign it to somebody else who knows everything that's going on. Review with them the week of the wedding, maybe look through your contracts just so you know who's who, and have them be the point person. So if, God forbid, something's running late, it's not you who's getting that phone call. It might be your maid of honor or like an aunt, someone who's not maybe next to you, so they can handle that and you won't have to worry about it at all.
Absolutely. It's just one of those levels where you won't even realize that things are coming up and people are asking these questions, or you'll think everybody already knows the answers, but ultimately the questions are being asked because they want your vendors or your friends or your family, they want things to go well for you. But if you just have a point person who's answering those questions for you, you'll just sigh the biggest sigh of relief.
Yeah, you don't want to deal with that while you're getting your hair and makeup done in the morning. No one wants to deal with that. You're supposed to be enjoying, relaxing, drinking your champagne, and getting excited to walk down the aisle.
Absolutely. So I think another part of that is of just being prepared is having a pack list. And this goes beyond, certain things like if you need boob tape or things like that, you have your like personal pack list of what you want on the like safety pins, things like that. But the actual details that are part of the wedding day. So JK, do you want to talk about how we prepare our pack lists, and then I can figure out if I can share my screen?
Yes. So when you work with us, leading up to the wedding, we'll send you a packing list, and it's basically who will bring what. So if it's things that you specifically ordered that are getting sent to your house, we'll gather that from you usually the day before the wedding. And we just want, essentially, it's an inventory list of anything you've ordered or have had arranged or anything like that, like your guest book, your place cards, your menus, your escort cards, or your escort display, any custom cocktail napkins or bathroom napkins, if there's a specific cake cutting knife that you want there, any details like that. We would like a inventory list, your pack list of where it's going, who's bringing it, where it's ending up at the end of the night, whether it's something you want us to keep, put it in a bridal suite, put it on your bus or your limo, or bring it to your hotel room, or if it's something you don't need anymore, and we can take care of it. This just keeps us very organized, and also where everything is, that everything's accounted for. Everything has a set place on the day of, so you won't miss it. And then we will make sure that everything goes back to where it needs to go. It just gives that peace of mind, especially with details like those cocktail napkins that maybe you spent a lot of time working on. We want to make sure that you have those and those are shown throughout the evening, or if it's a family heirloom that you want on a family table, or if it's a cake cutting knife that's been passed down for generations and you want to make sure that's photographed, but also that it's packed away safely and makes it back to you at the end of the night. That's what that pack list is for, just so we can take care of that for you and make sure everything gets rounded up at the end of the night.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to share a pack list that JK, you and Sarah worked on for one of your weddings. Then after, we'll just contrast and show one that I've used for one of my weddings this season. So fingers crossed, everybody. Did we do it? Okay, I think we did it.
Yep.
Okay, so do you want to talk through this?
Yes. So as you'll see on here, she had a welcome sign easel, signature drink, card box, guest book bottle, family photos, and also quantities is very helpful. So we know exactly how much we're getting and make sure we have the same exact number at the end of the night. You'll see the 2 columns, client to provide, Mavinhouse to provide. We will check that off on who's bringing what. And of course, the venue placement. So this will say exactly where things are going so that it's expected on the day of. For this particular client, they wanted to keep everything. Usually we would post in the post-event packing location of whether or not it's going back to their hotel room. If maybe another family member is taking charge of it, that's where those details would go. But this is how we stay organized and make sure that all your things that are accounted for are in here and that they're showcased on the day of the wedding and then packed up at the end of the evening.
Absolutely. So I think I'm going to try to share a different one now, if this works. Guys, isn't it fun? We've been doing Zoom for over a year now, and we're still learning new things here. Okay, let's try this. So this is going to be a pack list from one of my weddings I did, funny enough, at the same venue as the one JK just shared. So this particular client was living in Texas and got married in Massachusetts. So there's a lot of details about who's providing what, whether it was the welcome sign, which the mother of the groom had, or the easel, which I had, exactly where it was going and where it was going after the event as well. Many things were being packed right up onto their bus that they had that was bringing them back into Boston, and all of those things. So everything from a mask sign with a stand. And I knew that Nora was bringing it and it was going onto the foyer table. And then at the end of the night, it was being packed up and going onto the bus. So this is something that we use for our personal reasons, but also so that our clients know, these items are being taken care of. And these are where you can find them at the end of the night. So everything. So again, quantities. There were 2 drink frames. I had them. They were going on the bar and they were being taken back by me at the end of the night. Or for instance, we had a custom neon sign that was specialty made and shipped to the Mavinhouse office. So I brought it in. It was on display during cocktail hour. And then I took it back and then shipped it to them in Texas. So all sorts of different details about, where are these things going, who has them, who's in charge of them, and where do they go at the end of the night. So everything down to the bubbles and where they'll be. So these are just something that you can make even if you're not using a planner. Again, something to give to a friend or a cousin or an aunt and just say, we really want to make sure a catering manager or somebody who's in charge of those smaller details of who's putting out the bar sign, who's putting out the custom napkins, so that they know, okay, there's custom napkins and we need to make sure that we have them. So these are just some examples of those. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, please let us know. I always love the pack lists. I think they're very fun in a funny little planner way to think something.
In a planner way, in our OCD way.
So now, do we dare talk about the actual day of the wedding and the things you can do to combat anxieties? The actual day.
The big day is here. Now what? I'm sure everyone's already a little nervous, but also excited. So we're just going to talk about how to de-stress yourself on the day of, because it's a very exciting and happy day and you need to be excited and happy.
Yeah, so I think that starts with just from the get-go, surrounding yourself with fun people. You've chosen the people to be in your wedding party for a reason, their family, their close friends, their old roommates, whatever it may be. And you can, if you're mixing different friend groups with your wedding party, that could be scary. But at the end of the day, everybody's ultimately there so that you can have a good time. So I think that one of the biggest tips about day of and making sure that you're having a good time is just setting that expectation from the get-go. It's being like, guys, this is what my vibe is going to be on the wedding day. These are what my priorities are. I don't want to know if there's a storm that might be coming through. I don't want to know if, a vendor is running late. Just set that expectation from the start and surround yourself with people that you love and that love you back.
I totally agree with that, Lindsay. I think it's all about the energy that you have around you too on that day. You want someone, or you want everybody who comes into contact with you to be positive and happy for you and excited. And that's what you need to put yourself around. Listen to some fun music, sip that champagne, have a dance party with your bridesmaids as you're getting ready, or just do something that you know is going to make you feel good on the day of and start your day off right. Like Lindsay said, also having that person to just be the go-to contact for all the day of logistics, so you're not worrying about it, is so important. That is not something you really want to think about on the day of. You just want to enjoy it and just get excited and be very surprised so happy when everything comes together and looks beautiful. And that's all you should worry about. You shouldn't worry about anything else besides getting married and having a great day.
I think also one of the big things that can make people anxious is their food schedule. I know that it makes me anxious when I don't know when I'm going to eat. And so
don't get hangry either.
You don't want to get hangry. You don't want to have any sort of pit in your stomach. So make sure that you are having a breakfast, even if it's just something like a scrambled egg or a slice of toast. You want something in your system, and you want to make sure that you're also staying hydrated. One, so that your skin glows, but also so that you are just feeling fulfilled and feeling healthy and ready to go into, it's a very long night. So stay hydrated as you're getting ready. Sip your champagne and then sip your water.
Sip your water. That is probably the biggest thing I tell brides, and that we constantly check in, especially on a hot summer day. Are you drinking water? Did you drink water? Here's some water. Just drink the water. Because you're just in this whirlwind of like, you're getting ready, and then you're at your ceremony, you get married, jump straight into cocktail hour, then you're doing photos, then you jump into dinner, and then you're dancing and dancing and dancing, and people forget, wow, I should probably have a glass of water. So stay hydrated, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody stay hydrated.
Everybody stay hydrated as you're getting ready. It's totally fine if you drink to have, a cocktail or, a beer to celebrate with the groomsmen or whatever it may be, but make sure that you are putting water into your system on the day of your wedding, because you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked how much water can just alleviate so many stresses in your life overall, but also, of course, on your wedding day.
Absolutely.
I think that also, excuse me, we've talked a lot about like making sure you have a person on your wedding day who you trust and who can answer questions. And I just wanted to kind of like bounce back and talk about what Mavinhouse does for you on the day of your wedding and what we can also offer. So, I know that the weddings that I'm planning, or I had the chance to actually work with Sarah and JK over the summer on one of their weddings. And when we have our full team, and you have the support of, your lead planner and some assistants, we make sure that not only is your timeline running smoothly, but we have people who are checking in the vendors, and we also have people making sure that hair and makeup is going on time and all of those details. And what we do is we also offer somebody who's strictly a wedding party concierge. So it's somebody who's there if you need a suit or a dress pressed, if you need it steamed, if you, need somebody to run out to get sandwiches for lunch or to deliver a gift to your fiance, all of those details. Like, we have people on our team who are exclusively dedicated to your day's happiness, and making sure that your day and your experience is fulfilled, and that you, again, at the very front door of wherever you're getting ready, nobody's getting past that door who's trying to ask you a question that doesn't entail to anything you need to know.
Yep.
So I think, we just hit our 30-minute mark, which I'm shocked that we were so punctual with this, but also I wouldn't be surprised if it's because our fast talking New England ways.
Maybe that could be it too.
Got us right to this 30-minute mark. But again, if you have any questions, please just feel free to chat them. And we are happy to answer, but you can also shoot us a DM. You can follow any of the accounts. So we have our main Mavinhouse account. It's Mavinhouse _events on Instagram. Jeankarla is Jeankarla, JEANKARLA _Mavinhouse. And then I am Lindsey _Mavinhouse, so LINDSEY. You can also sign up for our back of the house emails. We send them out once a month. We do not spam you. Absolutely not. It's once a month an email with some tips, tricks, some things that are going on in the industry directly from us, the planners, to you. Last month, we featured some gifting ideas that all of our planners contributed to. Gifts for friends, for parents, for your spouse, for your wedding party, all sorts of tips and tricks. If you want a copy of it, just email or DM myself or JK, and we can get you a copy of it and get you signed up for next month's email. And let's see, we also do free, no commitment, no obligation consultations. You can schedule it right online. We have our calendar open and available for booking. And you can also just shoot us an email and chat about your wedding if it's coming up, if you have some questions, if you just feel like you need a little bit of support. Again, no commitment, no obligation. We're happy to just chat about weddings and events.
Yes, that's all we like to do. So if you just need a little therapy call, sure, we can help out with that.
Why not? Anything to help with those anxieties. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to send a YouTube link to, we're going to upload this video to our YouTube and also send a link of the recording, if I got that correct.
You will get it. You'll get
a version of this to watch later, so you don't forget our faces. And we'll see you next time. There is going to be another webinar next month, so keep your eyes and ears out for it. And we'll be back to talk about more.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.